Today we're taking a look at not only a new brand, but one of the newer releases, the Reveries. This is going to be the Raven. This is going to be, again, a new brand that was started from a whiskey enthusiast, Jay West. A lot of you guys know him from our bourbon or from Shared Pour. So he was nice enough to send this bottle. We're going to tackle this, give my hopefully non-biased opinion of what the Raven has to offer today on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. So I'm going to try to give as much of a true representation of what the Raven from the Reveries has to offer. So this is a new brand from Jay West, which he started back in the later part of 2024 and has released a couple different releases from his brand, obviously the Reveries. This again just happens to be the Raven. So we're going to kind of dive into this and not only give you hopefully a representation of what this has to offer, but really what the brand overall has to offer. And I think what a lot of true whiskey enthusiasts kind of have to look forward to. So that was really the goal today, was to give you guys a really good idea of what it is that Jay is doing with his brand. You know, he's coming from an interesting perspective of already being that whiskey enthusiast, somebody who's done a lot of what we've done and really wants a great whiskey and a true representation of his brands. So let's go ahead and kind of dive into this. We'll give you some specs on what the Raven has to offer and hopefully what you can kind of expect going forward from the brand, the Reveries itself. So this one specifically is coming in at 128.8 proof. It's a blend of 3 different mash bills with 4 different ages, anywhere from 9, 10, and 14 years old. It is non-age stated, but again, if it was, the minimum age would be 9 years old, and the MSRP on this is right around 140 bucks. So considering the ages that are blended within this, you know, it doesn't feel bad at all, feels right in line with probably where it should be. And really, in all honesty, probably could have been priced even a little bit higher. But I think he's cognizant of the fact that, you know, it's a new brand and people are going to be kind of looking for what this is and wanting to know exactly what it is. So probably a little bit more priced accordingly. So let's kind of dive into this and see exactly what the Raven here in 2025 has to offer. And it is maybe some of the most cherry pipe tobacco I've smelled on a bourbon or a whiskey in quite some time. It has a lot of that flat Coca-Cola. There's a lot of this stag vibe to it so far. Man, that fruit layer is amazing. So you're hit with a lot of that Luxardo cherry, but the spice factor, I mean, the baking spices is fantastic. The oak layer, which those older oak barrels are definitely shining through on this. I mean, it's some of the best like oak I think I've smelled in quite some time. Like, it is just an incredibly rich, almost decadent type of oak smell. Man, that cherry note is crazy. Like, what this thing is giving you, that cherry or like a flat cherry Coca-Cola. I mean, it's a lot of what you get on some of the older stags. Maybe some of what we used to refer to as the Stag Junior. There's some of that vibe to it as well, but there's much more of a richness and stronger backbone to this. Yeah, I mean, that's just a fantastic nose. Like, you could kind of like live in this nose like all day long. The black pepper, the baking spices there, it's pretty heavy. But again, that beautiful oak, that kind of flat cherry Coca-Cola, the spice, you know, the baking spices. Man, love the oak on this. All right, more importantly, let's see what this one's gonna taste like and see what Mr. Jay West is gonna hit us with. Cheers. Man, first and foremost, the mouthfeel. Rich, creamy. Man, let me kind of like think about this thing for a second. This has a lot going on. Again, I had referenced before that flat kind of cherry Coca-Cola, and it definitely has that. But man, there are a lot of that kind of George T. Stagg vibes to this thing. Again, blends of Indiana and Kentucky. Man, so far, I mean, the blend on this that he's done is pretty darn incredible. So to get to this point of this is already pretty darn impressive. The pipe tobacco or cherry pipe tobacco notes that are working extremely, extremely well with that oak layer is not something I've tasted in quite some time. It has this extreme richness, the complexity that you as a whiskey enthusiast love. So it already is setting you up for almost just kind of taking your time with this. This will be one of those whiskeys that if you take your time with it, it's going to reward you. Yeah, that kind of cherry pipe tobacco is killer. Like it is spot on and working so extremely well with that older oak profile that it has. I mean, again, you think of that Luxardo flat kind of cherry Coca-Cola, but with spice. That's the thing. There's that spice layer that feels like maybe the best cherry Coca-Cola you've ever had, but with but from a bourbon standpoint, if that makes any sense. Like it is one of those things that you have to kind of really think about to kind of digest all of what this whiskey kind of has to offer. The proof point on this, fantastic. Everything you really want in just a great bourbon so far. Yeah, there's a little bit of a kind of a peanut brittle feel. So you know when you've got the real richness of like a peanut brittle, but a little bit of that kind of peanut feel to it. So I'm not exactly sure where the whiskeys are coming from, you know, in Kentucky. I think we have a good idea of probably Indiana where those are coming from. But overall, there's a little bit of that, just that richness kind of characteristic of what a peanut brittle would kind of have to offer, if that makes any sense. When you dive into this a little bit more, the leather notes that are there feels a lot like an old baseball glove. Like this is going back to probably my childhood and having an old baseball glove. So you know like what that old leather, you know, kind of smells and not only tastes like. But it has a lot of just that richness, you know, with the oak that's there. Again, that flat kind of cherry Coca-Cola, incredible baking spices. Love the oak presence on this. It just all works extremely, extremely well. Mixing in with that fruit layer. I keep saying Luxardo cherry, but there's this fruit layer, that spicy and balanced. It just has so much going on that to kind of think and convey what this is, it's quite a bit. Like this is a very kind of deep, dark, rich bourbon that takes a little bit of time to kind of dissect and really get your arms around what this thing really kind of truly represents. Yeah, there's one of the things that I love about a whiskey like this is when you get that oak or that old oak component and when that mixes with those fruit layers, you know, again, you've got some of those really heavy like vanillas and caramels, so there's that tried and true part of this, but there's that complexity when you get into some of those leather, cherry pipe tobacco notes. This has a lot going on. So I think as you guys get into, you know, maybe specifically the Raven, a lot of what Jay is going to try to represent is going to be a little bit of this. So I think you can get a little bit of this in a lot of his whiskeys, because he's coming from the perspective of a true whiskey enthusiast. So to him, he wants a lot of those great whiskeys, not only for himself, but for us to experience. And I think what the Raven has is giving us a lot of those kind of vibes. So I'm excited for everybody who was or is able to get their hands on not only the Raven, but what it is that he as the brand, or the Reveries, kind of has to offer, and what he will be offering. So, you know, it just has an awful lot of really great characteristics and a lot of great things going on. So I don't want to sound like overly biased, but at the end of the day, like, a really great whiskey is just a really great whiskey. And what this represents is exactly that. It's one of those things that allows you to, I think, slow things down, really get a true representation of what a really nice whiskey or bourbon has to offer. And what he's done with this blend is kind of spot on. It works and fits my profile extremely well. So when I get something like this that has a lot of those characteristics, it's something that I absolutely love and enjoy. Look forward to maybe even sitting down and taking some time with this with a really nice cigar. So if you're a cigar person, I think this is a whiskey, or a bourbon specifically, that will really work extremely well. Depending on the style of cigar that you have, I think this may be one of those kind of match made in heaven type of bourbon. So there you go. I mean, there's a little representation of not only the Raven, but I think the Reveries brand itself. So if you're as excited as I am for not only this, but what it is that Jay truly will be representing as a brand, I think you guys will really be in for a really, really fantastic ride with this brand. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Instagram and Facebook, those places at My Bourbon Journey. If you'd like to help support the channel and become part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, make sure you check out that Patreon link in the description below. That down there with a lot of other great things for you as well. So with that being said, there you go. There's the Reveries, specifically the Raven, here in 2025. Let me know your thoughts. Have you had any of what the Reveries has to offer? Any other kind of specific releases? Would love to hear your feedback, and would really love to hear, you know, you guys share your thoughts with everybody else that's kind of watching the video. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. And as always, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers. We'll see you next time.
Soak up the fragrance, we're here for a while. Nowhere to go, girl, let's enjoy the ride. It's the feels you give to me